The house wakes at 6 a.m., whether I'm ready or not. It starts with the soft clink of the coffee maker kicking on, the hum of the fridge, the shuffle of my socked feet on hardwood. Same routine, same cupboards. I set the lunch boxes out on the counter, line them up like tiny soldiers, Ethan's with the blue trim, Caleb's with the Marvel sticker half peeled off. Peanut butter for one, turkey for the other. Granola bars, juice boxes, notes tucked inside, because that's what dads who stay do. I don't forget. I never forget. Outside, the Indiana sky is flat and gray, like it always is in early March. The same stretch of suburb we've lived in for 12 years. My grass is trimmed. My gutters are clean. The sidewalk cracks are power washed. I like order, predictability. Maybe that's what made me blind. Rachel used to love that about me. How I remembered birthdays, fixed leaky faucets, rotated the tires without her asking. She'd look at me like I was her anchor in a world she couldn't quite trust. But lately? Lately, she sighs before she answers simple questions. I ask if she wants coffee. She exhales like I've asked her to solve a math problem. I tell myself it's stress. The boys can be a lot. At dinner last week, Caleb was bouncing in his chair telling a story about gym class. She blinked, barely listening, then excused herself mid-sentence. Said she had a headache. She's had a lot of those lately. Or she's tired. Or she needs quiet. It's like there's this fog around her, and every time I try to reach in, she drifts further back. The boys have noticed, but they don't say much. Ethan keeps his earbuds in more. He's 15. I let it go. Saturday morning, I found her sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, smiling. No, laughing at something. I was brushing my teeth, and when I came out, she jumped slightly and locked the screen. I asked what was funny. She looked up at me like I'd walked in on something I shouldn't have. Just a meme, she said flatly. The laugh never reached her eyes. She doesn't touch me anymore. She hasn't for months. When our arms brush in bed, she flinches. I know the signs. I'm not stupid. I'm just deliberate. I don't accuse without proof. I don't act on feeling. I wait. I observe. That's what makes me good at my job. Maybe I need space, she said one night, not looking at me. She was folding laundry, my shirt, my socks, like she hadn't just carved a chasm into the room with 5 words. Okay, I said. She blinked, surprised, maybe expecting a fight. But I gave her what she asked for. Because that's what love is, right? Letting someone breathe? She said her company was holding a retreat in Chicago. 2 nights, all-women team building, spa included. It's mandatory, she added, like I was going to object. I didn't. I said I'd handle things here, and I did. I packed her bag while she showered, folded her sweaters with the precision of a man folding the last remnants of an illusion. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did. But she kissed me on the cheek before she left. Cold, dry, like an afterthought. While she was gone, I made Ethan and Caleb their favorite dinners. Mac and cheese one night, chicken parmesan the next. We watched The Sandlot together. I fixed the dripping sink in the basement, ordered new filters for the HVAC. I kept everything running like usual, steady, reliable, the way I always am. She texted both nights, brief messages. Tired, going to bed early, no emojis, no love yous. On Sunday afternoon, she came back with a new haircut and a hollowed-out look behind her eyes. The spa was great, she said. The workshops were boring. I nodded. Later, I found a receipt in the trash. A restaurant. Expensive. 2 entrees. 1 wine. Not part of any retreat. But I didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, I sat in the garage that night, door halfway open, nursing a bottle of beer and staring at the corner where the drywall's beginning to crack. I thought about what it means to be the one who stays, the one who carries, the man who holds the line while everything quietly slips away behind his back. I thought about how trust isn't something you give once. It's something you bleed into the fabric of every day until you don't know where you end and the lie begins. And I realized the most dangerous thing I ever gave her wasn't love. It was my silence. I was finishing up spreadsheets in the home office when Ethan knocked, polite, like always. He held Rachel's iPad with both hands like it might explode. "Dad," he said, voice tighter than usual. I think this isn't mine." I frowned. "You using that for homework?" "Yeah. Mom said I could, but He swallowed. Something popped up. I took it from him slowly. The screen hadn't gone dark yet. One message. Just one. "Last night was perfect. You're nothing like him." The air left the room. I didn't react. Not with my face. That's a discipline you learn when you're the kind of man people call steady. When you're the one who never yells. I turned the iPad toward me and clicked it off. "It's probably some old thing. Spam, group thread. You know how your mom's work chats are," I said, smiling like nothing was wrong. "No big deal." Ethan didn't look convinced, but he nodded and left. Still polite, still trying to believe me. I waited until I heard his bedroom door close. Then I sat down. The screen lit back up as I tapped. Face ID didn't work for me, but her passcode was still the same 6 digits it had been for years. Our wedding anniversary. She didn't even bother to change it. She probably never thought I'd look. Messages were open. A thread with someone saved only as D no photo. No last name. But plenty of history. I read. And kept reading. The thread scrolled back weeks. Maybe months. Photos. Hotel bookings. Late-night laughing emojis. Audio clips of her whispering. Voice notes filled with breathy moans. Giggles. Plans. "He thinks I'm still in meetings. Poor guy has no clue. You make me feel like I'm 25 again. He still folds my laundry like a good little drone." I didn't know where the sting was sharpest, in her words or the ease with which she delivered them. There was no conflict, no guilt. She wasn't lost or confused or trapped. She was entertained. And I was the joke. One message chilled me more than the rest. It was short. "Just coasting till Ethan's out, then freedom. Not we need to talk. Not I'm unhappy. Not I'm scared of what this means for us. Just strategy. Just timing." I stared at the screen, letting the silence fold around me like lead. She had carved me into a caricature. "A ghost of a man," she said. "Lifeless, loveless, predictable. The man who changes air filters and leaves her free to spread her legs for someone else." I didn't throw the iPad, didn't scream. I powered it off, set it down, and walked upstairs. In the laundry room, the dryer was humming. Rachel had left a basket of towels. I folded them neatly, one corner to the other, smooth and even. It gave my hands something to do. My heart wasn't racing. It was steady, because I finally saw the shape of things. And when you see clearly, panic has no place. When I got into bed that night, she was already asleep, or pretending to be. Her back was to me. I stared at the ceiling. I could still hear her laugh from those voice notes, light and cruel. She thought I was too dull to see it. She thought I'd never act. She wasn't entirely wrong. I hadn't acted. Not yet. But something had shifted. A line crossed. A wire snapped. By morning, I wasn't the same man. I wasn't the husband waiting for his wife to come back to him. I wasn't the fool folding towels while she sent naked pictures to D. I was something else now. A strategist. And I had just found my opening move. I started with the router. It was easy, really. One evening, I stood in the hallway with a new mesh system box in my hand and called out, "Hey, Wi-Fi's been spotty again. I'm gonna upgrade it." Rachel looked up from the couch, eyes barely lifting off her phone. "Sure. Whatever." That was the first tell. No curiosity, no hesitation, no, "What's that?" or "Do you need help?" Just a shrug. She didn't even ask the name of the system. That told me everything I needed to know. Within an hour, I'd installed OpenDNS, remote access logs, and an active packet sniffer. Her laptop was on our network, her iPad, her phone. I mirrored everything to a hidden drive on my home office PC. Legal, too. I own the devices, the house, the account. Next came the camera. I told her it was for security. We'd had a few porch thefts lately, and the kids had been leaving the side gate unlocked. I climbed a ladder and drilled a tiny pinhole camera into the ceiling light fixture in the living room, angled just enough to catch the hallway, the couch, the kitchen door. She stood in the doorway while I worked, sipping tea, humming something I didn't recognize. She had no idea I was already watching. The first night was uneventful. The second, she called him. I was at my desk, going through bank statements, when the audio kicked on. It was faint. Bathroom tile acoustics, she whispered. "I miss your hands." I stopped moving. Not just physically. Everything in me paused. There was something almost theatrical in her tone, like a schoolgirl pretending to be grown. I rewound it 4 times. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I needed to know every syllable, every drop of sugar in her voice that she never used with me. Over the next week, the patterns emerged. 10-minute calls after the boys were in bed. Video chats in the garage, claiming she was grabbing something from the trunk. The way she always angled her phone down and to the right, facing away from the camera. But I saw her smile. I saw her mouth the word soon, and I can't wait. I needed more. So I hired one. Brent Adler, retired state trooper turned PI. Quiet, methodical. I paid in cash. Gave him only the facts and a photo of her. I didn't say much else. 3 days later, he had a name. Gary Sandler. Regional Vice President. Divorced. 53rd. Drives a Tesla. Lives 2 hours away but keeps a corporate condo in Chicago. He sent over a photo. Silver hair, trim beard, expensive coat. That LinkedIn polished look. The kind of man who uses cologne with French names and believes married women are choices, not obstacles. I stared at his face for a long time. It was easier somehow having a villain I could assign a jawline to. That Friday, Brent sent me video from Chicago. Rachel and Gary outside a bar near Michigan Avenue. She was wearing the blue dress I bought her for our anniversary 3 years ago. Her hand was on his chest. His lips grazed her forehead. Then the two of them disappeared through the side entrance of a boutique hotel. Timestamp: 10:43 p.m. Same night, she told me over text she was in her room early. Too tired to even think. She wasn't even trying to hide. She didn't think I'd ever look. And that was almost worse than the betrayal. I created a folder called For Attorney Use Only, password protected, triple backed up. Every night I added to it. Screen captures, audio clips, time-stamped GPS data, credit card statements, message threads she thought she deleted but had synced to iCloud. Even her calendar invites had traces. It felt less like grief, more like building a case file. The marriage had already died. I was preparing the autopsy. In the mornings, I still packed lunches, still folded towels, still asked about Ethan's math test and Caleb's science fair. Rachel would yawn and kiss my cheek out of habit, not realizing I had more footage of her cheating than of our wedding day. Then I made the call. Her name was Dana Wolf, Manhattan-trained, Indianapolis-based, high-conflict divorce specialist, 3-time bar speaker on covert asset protection. Clients called her the Shark. She didn't smile much. We met at her office downtown. I wore a gray quarter zip and brought nothing but a USB and a legal pad. I told her the short version. No emotion, no speculation, just facts. She plugged in the USB, scrolled for a full 10 minutes, then leaned back. "Do you want to make her pay?" she asked quietly. I said nothing for a beat, then nodded once. "Custody?" "Full. I'm not letting my kids grow up thinking this is what marriage looks like." She tapped her pen. "Then we start today." I walked out of her office, not feeling victorious, but anchored, like something inside me had finally locked into place. I didn't want revenge, not the kind you get in movies. I wanted justice. And for the first time in months, I felt ready to begin. Our 17th anniversary fell on a Thursday. I made the reservation 2 weeks in advance, not because I wanted to celebrate, but because I needed a stage, a clean, polished table, wine glasses, candlelight. A scene she wouldn't expect from the ghost she described in her texts. She didn't mention the date that morning. Not when we brushed past each other in the kitchen. Not when I packed the boys' lunches. Not when she slid into her car and said, "I'll be late. Corporate call." I just nodded. Let her forget. That night, we sat across from each other in a quiet booth at Riversend Grill. She wore a green blouse I hadn't seen before. Gold earrings, her hair curled, the way she used to before birthdays and galas. Maybe she was dressing for him. Or maybe she sensed something in the air, something subtle but off balance. I ordered her favorite wine. She scrolled Instagram between sips. When the waiter brought the entrees, he smiled politely and said, "Happy anniversary." She blinked, glanced at me, then looked down. "Right," she murmured, folding her napkin across her lap. 17? She didn't ask how I remembered. Didn't ask what I wanted to toast to. We ate in mostly silence, the kind that hums, thick with unspoken things. Her phone buzzed once. She tilted it just out of my line of sight. Screen lit, then off. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. After dessert, I leaned forward slightly. "I got you something," I said. Her face registered something. Guilt, or maybe surprise. "You did?" "Back at the house." She gave a tight, polite smile. "You didn't have to." But I had to, because that box was the last gift I would ever give her. Back home, I handed it to her in the living room. A small velvet box, black, the kind that might hold jewelry. She held it awkwardly, like it weighed too much. "You always were better at gifts," she muttered. Inside was a flash drive, sleek, silver, no label. She looked up. "What's this?" "Memories," I said, smiling. She didn't open it, not then. She thanked me, kissed my cheek, mechanical, and said she was tired. I watched her go upstairs, and then I waited. It took 2 hours. I was folding towels in the hallway when I heard it. The soft gasp. A sudden, involuntary sound, then silence, then footsteps, light and careful. The bedroom door creaked open like the house itself was holding its breath. She stood at the top of the stairs, drive in hand, lips slightly parted. Her voice was thin. "What is this?" "You watched it. You had no right—" "No?" I asked, not raising my voice. "No right to the words you wrote about me? The videos you made in his car? The calls you took while our kids were downstairs?" She stepped forward. "You violated my privacy." I laughed, just once, sharp, cold. "You made me the ghost, Rachel. I just needed to see if you buried me." She opened her mouth, closed it again, tried to summon tears. They didn't come fast enough. "You were spying on me." "No," I said. "I was confirming." Her jaw trembled. I walked past her, down the stairs, into the living room. I didn't slam doors. I didn't pace. I just sat on the couch and turned on the news like it was any other night. She stood in the hallway, watching me, waiting. And that's when it hit me. She expected a fight, an apology, a tearful confrontation. She expected to be forgiven. What she didn't expect, couldn't process, was the silence. The fact that I wasn't begging for an explanation. I wasn't asking why, because I already knew. I had every word, every timestamp, every whispered lie cataloged and burned into my memory. She stood there for another minute, breathing hard, waiting for something. But there was nothing left to say. The chair beside me was empty, and so was she. The filing happened before breakfast. Dana sent the documents to the county clerk's office at 6:42 a.m. sharp. She copied me on the confirmation. 2 motions. One for divorce citing adultery and marital misconduct, the other for temporary full custody, citing emotional harm and parental instability. By 7:10, I was pouring milk into Caleb's cereal bowl like nothing had changed. Ethan had earbuds in. Rachel moved around the kitchen slower than usual. Her eyes flicked to me once or twice. She hadn't slept much, I could tell. But she didn't say anything. Not about the flash drive. Not about the silence the night before. She probably thought the worst had passed. By 7:50, I dropped the boys off at school and drove to the courthouse. The wheels were already turning. Dana was waiting for me at the side entrance, sharp gray blazer, hair pulled tight, tablet in hand. No greetings, no hugs, just precision. "The judge has a cancellation. We're on the docket by 2 p.m., she said as we walked. "You ready for this?" I nodded. "I've been ready since the first lie." Inside the courtroom, it felt like winter. Not the kind with snow and carolers, the kind with wet boots and numb fingers and a sky that never clears. Rachel sat across from me at the petitioner's table, flanked by a local firm she must have Googled in a panic. She looked small, fragile, but not innocent. The judge, mid-60s, white beard, glasses that slid down his nose, called the case. Dana stood first, calm, precise. She opened with a brief but devastating summary. Multiple incidents of adultery, exposure of minors to emotional trauma, intent to defraud marital assets. Then she submitted the flash drive, Exhibit A, along with transcribed messages, screen captures, audio files, and PI footage. Rachel's attorney tried to object. "Your Honor, my client contends that this was an invasion of privacy." Dana didn't flinch. "The devices are marital property. The home is jointly owned. No expectation of privacy applies within the legal definition." The judge barely looked up. "Admitted." Rachel went pale. They called her to the stand. Her voice shook, but she tried to compose herself. "I was lonely," she said. "He was absent emotionally for years. I begged him to be more present, but he was always busy with work, with schedules." Dana interrupted with a stack of printouts. Exhibit B, text messages from the respondent to a third party, dated 3 months ago. The judge took them, flipped through slowly. "I'm just coasting till Ethan's out. Then I'll take half and go. He still doesn't know. Dumb as ever. Folds my towels like a maid." There was no gasp in the courtroom, just silence, and her face, crumbling slowly like a statue weathered by time. Dana didn't stop there. She played the audio next. Rachel's voice, clear and sultry, whispering to Gary over FaceTime while our kids were downstairs watching TV. "You're the only real thing I have. If he dropped dead, I wouldn't flinch." Rachel shrank in her seat, hands trembling. The judge looked at her, but not with anger, with understanding, the cold kind. Her lawyer asked for a recess. Denied. Then Dana submitted the final blow, a sealed letter from Ethan's therapist. "In the past month," Dana said carefully, "Ethan has exhibited signs of distress directly tied to discovering a message thread on his mother's device. His grades have dropped. He's withdrawn socially. The licensed therapist recommends a stable, emotionally safe environment." Rachel tried to object. "He wasn't supposed to see that." Dana didn't even turn her head. "But he did." The judge leaned forward. "Do you deny writing these messages, Mrs. Caro?" Rachel's lips parted, closed, opened again. Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't mean them like that," she whispered. Silence. I was angry. I thought it was private." "You were wrong on both counts," the judge said. And just like that, she broke. Not a single sob, not yet. But her body shook. Hands gripped the edges of the seat. Her eyes searched the room like she was drowning, looking for something to grab onto. Gary Sandler wasn't there. Not in the pews, not in the hallway. He had resigned from his VP role 3 days earlier. No press release, just a quiet HR memo and an empty desk. The flash drive was mailed anonymously, no return address. Coward didn't even send flowers. The judge read his ruling without expression. Full temporary custody to Mr. Caro. Spousal support denied on grounds of adultery and misconduct. Marital home awarded to petitioner pending final division. Respondent to relinquish access within 48 hours. Rachel didn't cry when the gavel hit. She cried afterward, quietly, in the hallway. I didn't approach her. I didn't need to. She knew. She knew the damage wasn't loud. It was deliberate. Surgical. The kind that slices you clean so you don't even realize you're bleeding until you're empty. As Dana packed her files, she looked over at me and asked, "Do you want to file a restraining order for digital harassment just in case?" I shook my head. "She's not dangerous," I said. "Just hollow." We stepped into the Indiana sunlight. It was colder than I expected, but the air was clear. She moved out on a Tuesday. No tearful goodbye, no boxes marked memories. Just her car in the driveway for 20 minutes, trunk open, a few bags tossed in. I stayed inside. Ethan was at school. Caleb played in the living room, more interested in Legos than the woman who used to kiss him goodnight and then whisper to another man before bed. She didn't hug him, didn't ask for a photo, just left a garage remote on the counter. The silence that followed wasn't loud. It wasn't even sad. It was clean. The boys never asked where she went. I told them she was taking time to figure things out. Caleb nodded like it made sense. Ethan looked out the window, then back at me and said, "Okay." That was the first moment I realized they'd already adjusted. She rented a one-bedroom near the highway. Cheap place, old carpets, no lawn. The kind of space you get when you're not sure where your life is going next, just that it's not going back. Her name stopped showing up in the group chats. PTA messages went unanswered. Friends we'd known for a decade stopped liking her posts. I overheard a neighbor once whispering on the phone about how she'd had a breakdown or something. She never corrected them. She was asked to resign from her role for optics. HR phrased it carefully, but I know how those memos read. Polished detachment, like they're cleaning a stain off the company rug. Her LinkedIn changed to independent consultant. No endorsements. Gary didn't get the promotion he was up for. There was no farewell email, no retirement cake, just silence and a new nameplate in his office. I imagined him packing up his desk alone, wondering which thumb drive did it, wondering if she was worth it. The kids began to change, slowly, like spring thawing into something that resembled trust. Ethan cracked a joke at dinner one night, something about a teacher's bad haircut. He smirked just a little, then looked at me like he was testing the room. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was his first joke in weeks. Caleb stopped asking to leave the light on at night. He fell asleep on the couch once during a storm, face down on my chest. I didn't move for an hour. I wrote those moments down, dated them in a notebook like weather patterns. I wanted to remember the exact temperature of healing. As for me, I didn't date, didn't swipe, didn't dream of finding someone else to fill the space she carved out. I read more, took up cooking, real cooking, not just reheating or grilling. I learned the difference between garlic powder and minced cloves. Burned the first few attempts, but the boys never complained. I bought a proper coffee grinder, started waking up before the sun just to walk. Jazz became something I didn't mock anymore. Stillness took practice, but it stuck. Sometimes people ask how I stayed so calm, how I didn't lose my mind, or break something, or scream at her until the neighbors called the cops. The answer's simple. She asked me once in the only real conversation we had after it all fell apart. "Why didn't you yell at me? Why didn't you ask me to stay?" I looked her in the eye. "Because when something's rotting," I said, "you don't preserve it. You cut it out. Then you heal. Quietly. This isn't a story with a standing ovation. There's no dramatic music, no final confrontation in the rain. Just peace, no witnesses, no need for any. Just me, a mug of strong coffee, and two boys who are starting to laugh again, and a silence that finally feels like mine. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.